of buzz about this fake news. You were the subject of a fake news story.
Oh yeah, what they say? I was running for president. No, I voted.
No,
what they say?
You switched your support.
I switched.
From
Yeah.
What do you make of all the fake news? Did it affect
If you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed. If you do read it, you're misinformed.
So what do you do?
That's the great question. What is the long-term effect of too much information? One of the effects is the need to be first, not even to be true anymore. So what a responsibility you all have to tell the truth, not just to be first, but to tell the truth. We live in a society now where it's just first. Who cares? Get it out there. We don't care who it hurts. We don't care who we destroy. We don't care if it's true. Just say it, sell it. Anything you practice, you'll get good at, including BS.
You told me last night.
Okay.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Let's Talk Headlines series. I'm your host Jay, and this is The Objective. Thank you guys for tuning in to the 5th episode of Season 2. Forgive me if I'm stuffy and sniffling. I'm just coming down from a cold. Before we get into our show, there are two things I want to remind you. The first thing is definitely check out www.politicalstorm.com. On that website, you can see some of my content and a bunch of other great contributors who have different points of views, who, all come together on this website to celebrate independent media and different, various trains of thought. So definitely support us at politicalstorm.com. The next thing that I want to bring to your attention is this book, The Russian Hoax by Greg Jarrett. The illicit scheme to clear Hillary Clinton and frame Donald Trump. Now, one thing that's important about this book is that this book is based on public records. Everything that this book uses, everything that Greg Jarrett uses in this book, it's not sensationalism, it's not insinuation, it's all based on what is available to the public. So that's one thing that I really appreciate. He's using facts. He's using what not only Fox News reports on, but things that MSNBC reports on, CNN reports on. These are things that have been released to the public, that have been FOIP'd through the Freedom Act. What's it called? I think out here it's FOIP, but in the States it's like FOIA, Freedom of Information Act. Yeah. So definitely check that book out. And what I'm going to do, I want to do a book review on this. So I'll have its own series, and each week I'll do a chapter, kind of do an overview of the chapter. For those of you who don't like to read books, those of you who don't have the means maybe to buy the book, or those of you who, just want a quick version of the book, I guess. So I'll keep you guys posted on that. Today's episode, we are talking about Jussie Smollett. Some of you guys, most of you guys, I'm sure have heard all about this story. Crazy, just absolutely crazy. Where do I start? We'll start here at the beginning. So for those of you who have not been privy to this story, who haven't been really keeping up to date with what's going on in the media, Jussie Smollett, he is an actor in the show Empire. He is known as a black male. He's a gay male. And what had happened before this whole debacle happened, he alleged that he received this letter in the mail with kind of like cutout letters, with racial slurs, kind of picturing him with a noose. And, it didn't really go viral, but some people, I didn't hear about it until after, but he alleges that he received this hate message in the mail. About a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, he said that he was walking to Subway to get a sandwich. And sometime either before or after he got his sandwich, he was approached by two white males, he says, Trump supporters, because they're wearing the MAGA baseball caps, the red cap, Make America Great Again. And what they did, they beat him up viciously, brutally. They were yelling expletives at him, racial slurs. Just think of the worst words that you can use to attribute a black and a gay person. They said that, or he said that they poured a chemical on him that we assume is bleach, and they tied a noose around his neck before they ran off. So when this happened, he, eventually called police, or I believe it was his manager that called police. He said he was on the phone with his manager when this happened. Kamala Harris, the Democrat candidate for the presidency 2020, and Cory Booker both came out. Multiple people came out and they denounced this attack on both sides of the political spectrum. But Kamala Harris and Cory Booker both said, this is a modern day lynching. Matter of fact, I will play what they said. Well, actually, I'll just show a picture of their tweets right here. Go ahead and give that a read. But essentially, they're saying it's a modern day lynching. Cory Booker at the bottom of his tweet stated, this is why this story of Jussie Smollett is why we have to push for my anti-lynching bill. It's a bill that he had created to make lynching illegal. Say what you will about that. I'm sure if you tried to lynch somebody, you would be charged with attempted murder or something like that, as it stands. But this story came out. News cycle went crazy. I mean, this is crazy. And I'll be honest with you guys, and I have text messages to prove this. I was texting my girlfriend about it, and she told me, she said what happened, and I said, it's BS. She said, why? I said, you know what? There recently in the media, there was a story of that little girl who was shot and killed, and they had that sketch portrait of a white male who was the prime suspect, and it turned out that a black male was arrested for the crime. So I'm very skeptical when it comes to this kind of stuff. The media is so quick. They want to be first. They don't want to be right, as Denzel Washington said. So, this came out, and I was skeptical. One of my very close friends, they're skeptical. And all of Hollywood, all of, the left-wing elites, they all came out and they were, talking about how this is Trump's fault, how these hate crimes are on the rise as a result of Trump, saying, just the normal stuff that these Democrats typically run to. They always assume people are racist. They assume America is a racist country, and this incident was a result of that. So it turns out, folks, fast forward to today. Well, no, not even. Let's do this first. So police, Chicago police, they put multiple detectives on this case, invested a lot of resources to this case. It is a high-profile event, and in a high-profile event where public interest is that police solve this particular crime, police are going to respond accordingly. And they invested tons of resources. They actually asked for Smollett's phone to kind of corroborate what he is saying about being on the phone with his manager, to see if there could be possibly any investigative leads. And he said no. He said, no, I'm not giving you my phone. Red flag. Eventually, he gave his phone records to police, and he had redacted heavily the records, and they were of no use to the police, but the police already had his records. And I think the police started being a little suspicious and curious about why Jussie was being standoffish and not being a cooperative witness, I should say. It turns out, folks, the police looked at hundreds of hours of CCTV and couldn't find a thing to corroborate Jussie's complaint. It turns out, fast forward to today, that this whole thing was orchestrated by Jussie Smollett. And not only that, folks, but the two people that were supposedly white Trump conservative neo-Nazis, white supremacists, whatever you want to call them, they were actually two males from Nigeria. They're the two black males from Nigeria are the ones that attacked Jussie Smollett. It turns out that he paid them about $4,000. They bought the rope that was allegedly tied around his neck. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier. They bought the bleach. One of the males were actually an extra on the set of Empire. One of the males trained Jussie Smollett, his training partner or workout trainer. Yeah. So the whole thing was a joke. And check out what Kamala Harris and Cory Booker, check out what they're saying now when asked about this whole attack.
Which tweet? What tweet?
About saying that it is a modern day lynching. That
sorry.
Yes, Jussie Smollett.
Okay, so I will say this about that case. I think that the facts are still unfolding, and I'm very concerned about, obviously.
Senator, you called the alleged attack on Jussie Smollett a modern-day lynching when it happened. Now police sources are telling many networks that Mr. Smollett is under potential investigation for, concocting a story and paying these men. Is it time to revisit what you said about these remarks? What is your feeling on potential hoax hate crimes in general?
Well, the information's still coming out, and I'm going to withhold until all the information actually comes out from on-the-record sources.
We live in such a time where, the media is essentially a branch of the Democrat Party. And the media, the fourth estate, they no longer want to be right. They want to be first. Look at the Covington Catholic school boys who are now suing Washington Post $250 million because they did not use journalistic standards. They ignored them completely to further an agenda against the president of the United States. Do you remember a time when media just gave the news? Do you remember a time like that? It's discouraging and it's scary because there seems to be no objective party. There seems to be no responsible journalists anymore. It's either these journalists. I think of Jim Acosta. Like, is he a journalist or is he an activist? There's nothing wrong with activists, right? Political activists. But I think that there's a conflict of interest when a political activist is also a journalist. And, this whole Jussie Smollett incident is just open your eyes, folks. And, you have to be well read. You have to be well informed. You have to have discernment. You have to really know what's going on for yourself. You have to be well read. You have to view things with a critical eye and not just be a consumer. Because if you're just a consumer, the people that you're supposed to look up to for information, they will give you instead a plate of animosity, a plate of division. Guys, I am back now, but my video card actually just filled up. It's a sign. Take care, guys. Make it your goal to be objective. See you in the next one.